As children, we all love to go to sleep because that means our parents would tuck us in and kiss us goodnight and tell us stories until our eyes get droopy and it's easy to drift off to dreamland. But sometimes there would be one thing missing from the bedtime routine, and that was a letter under our pillow. Hi, I'm your host, and this is the first episode of The Curious Cases of the Mysterious Mr. Penumbra. Join me and my pet dinosaur Digby as we travel the world solving mysteries that have baffled mankind for centuries. And this case, well, it's a bit of a strange one even by my standards. Our story starts in 1964 when a boy named Gary was tucked into bed by his mother. He lived in a small house with his mom, dad, and little sister in a quiet neighborhood. It was just another day in the life of an average family, or so you'd think. Because after Gary's mother had kissed him goodnight and turned off the lights, he heard a knock. Now, Gary wasn't scared of the dark, but whoever was out there made him a bit nervous. So he stayed perfectly still until his mother returned to the room and switched the light back on. But when she did, what should have been an empty space under his bed had a letter addressed to Gary. His mother was understandably a bit flustered, but she knew it was probably some kind of mistake. Whoever put the letter there must have gotten the wrong house, she said. So she took the letter back downstairs and locked the front door. But the next night, the same thing happened. Gary was tucked into bed and then he heard a knock. When his mother came to check if everything was okay, the letter was back. And to make things even weirder, they were only addressed to Gary. His mother and father's names were written on the envelopes as well, but they were crossed out. Gary's mom decided to write "not here" on the latest letter and send it on its way back out the window. But like the letter before it wasn't there for very long, and once again, when the light was turned on, there were two new letters sitting in its place, one for her and one for Gary's father. This time, their names were also crossed out. But why? What was going on? At this point, Gary's mom had had enough. She called the police to report the strange goings-on, but they weren't much help. After all, there was no sign of forced entry and nothing appeared to be stolen. So they told her to simply ignore whatever was going on, and it would probably stop. But it didn't. In fact, it got worse. One night, Gary woke up in the middle of the night to find the entire room pitch black. No light was getting through the curtains and the windows were shut. But then he remembered the letters. Maybe this was just another one of those strange occurrences, he thought. But when he went to check under his pillow, the letter that was supposed to be there wasn't. Then he felt something scratch at his hand. Startled, he let out a scream. And when his mother rushed in, he pointed to the spot under his pillow where a letter should have been. But now, instead, there was a tiny hole. I don't know about you, but if I found a hole under my pillow, I'd want to check it out. And that's exactly what Gary did. As soon as the sun rose the following morning, he called his friend Michael over to help him investigate the hole. They checked inside and found a small, intricately carved wooden box. Inside the box was a key. But where did it go? They looked around the room and discovered that the wardrobe had a keyhole in it. But when they inserted the key, it didn't open the wardrobe. Instead, it unlocked a compartment inside, and inside the compartment was a note that read, "Give this to the milkman." So Gary did as he was told, and when the milkman came by the next day, Gary handed him the key. The milkman looked at it curiously and then opened the side of his milk carton. There was another keyhole in there, and when the key was inserted, a small folded piece of paper appeared. It was a map leading them to a church on the outskirts of town. And that's where our story will pick up when we continue in part 2. If you want to hear the rest of the tale, then subscribe to the channel and check back here every Wednesday and Saturday for new episodes of The Curious Cases of the Mysterious Mr. Penumbra. And if you want to help support the channel, then become a patron where you can watch each episode one day early. I'll see you next time. Bye.